Iran rains missiles amid fragile peace. Trump truce goes up in smoke. Israel-Iran trade fire post-peace deal. Truce on paper, war rages on ground. Iran snaps ties with global atomic body. What after 12-day war? That is our talk focus on 5 Live.
Hey, good evening. You're watching 5 Live with me, Suyesha Savant. While Trump had announced that there is ceasefire between Iran and Israel, that is seeming far from reality. Trump has now criticized and slammed both Israel and Iran for violating ceasefire. We'll get to the very latest on this top story. First up, we get to these latest statements coming in from United States President Donald Trump, who said that Iran and Israel both violated ceasefire. Trump has said to Israel, do not drop those bombs. He's also said that Iran will never rebuild its nuclear program. Trump has said that he is not happy with Israel. He has slammed both Israel and Iran for violating ceasefire. Listen into those statements.
I think they both violated it. I'm not sure they did it intentionally. They couldn't rein people back. I don't like the fact that Israel went out this morning at all, and I'm going to see if I can stop it. So as soon as I get away from you, I'm going to see if I can stop it, okay? Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what they're doing. Do you understand that? That Israel's going out now. There was one rocket that I guess was fired overboard. It was after the time limit and it missed its target. And now Israel's going out. These guys got to calm down. It's ridiculous. I didn't like plenty of things I saw yesterday. I didn't like the fact that Israel unloaded right after we made the deal. They didn't have to unload. And I didn't like the fact that the retaliation was very strong. But in all fairness, Israel unloaded a lot. And now I hear Israel just went out because they felt it was violated by one rocket that didn't land anywhere. That's not what we want, I'll tell you. And I'm telling you, I'm not happy about that, Israel, either. Iran will never rebuild its nuclear. From there? Absolutely not. That place is under rock. That place is demolished. The B-2 pilots did their job. They did it better than anybody could even imagine. They hit late in the evening. It was dark with no moon. And they hit that target with every one of those things, and that place is gone. But when I see CNN all night long, they're trying to say, well, maybe it wasn't really as demolished as we thought. It was demolished. You take a look at the pinpricks, and you see that place is gone. And I will say, I think CNN ought to apologize to the pilots of the B-2s. I think that MSDNC ought to apologize. I think these guys really, these networks and these cable networks, are real losers. You really are. You're real losers. I think it's been completely demolished. I think the reason we're here is because those pilots, those B-2 pilots, did an unbelievable job. And you know, the fake news, like CNN in particular, they're trying to, they're trying to say, well, I agree that it was destroyed, but maybe not that destroyed. You know what they're doing? They're really hurting great pilots that put their lives in the line. CNN is scum, and so is MSDNC. They're all. And frankly, the networks aren't much better. It's all fake news, but they should not have done that. Those pilots hit their targets. Those targets were obliterated, and the pilots should be given credit. They're not after the pilots, they're after me. They want to try and demean.
And but Israel and Iran continue to bomb each other even after the truce. Hours after US President Donald Trump announced ceasefire, Israeli Defense Forces reported more than 6 targeted attacks by Iran on Israeli cities. After Iran violated the ceasefire, Israeli jets struck missile launchers in the western part of Iran that were primed to fire at Israeli territory. We're getting you all the details of what happened through the last couple of hours.
Iran-Israel fragile ceasefire comes into effect with US President Donald Trump's big peace push, 2 days after hitting Iran's nuclear sites with bunker buster bombs.
Following
the directive of the political echelon, the ceasefire went into effect this morning. It can be said that the IDF fully met all objectives defined in Operation Rising Lion. The Chief of Staff instructed the IDF to maintain a high level of alertness and readiness for a powerful response to any violation of ceasefire. Even at these moments, the Air Force maintains an air alert to eliminate threats and to take rapid offensive actions.
Hours later, sirens blared in Haifa, the Galilee and the Golan Heights after Iran launched salvo or ballistic missiles launched at Israel. Damaged cars, storefronts and debris were seen in Beersheba after an Iranian missile hit a residential building. Israel's military said 6 waves of missiles were launched by Iran and that there were multiple casualties in Beersheba. Israeli rescue services searched for people potentially trapped under rubble of a building in southern Israel. Israeli firefighters retrieved bodies from the building hit by Iranian missiles in Beersheba.
I'm right now in Beersheba, where today Iran launched ballistic missiles on the residential buildings, and the state of destruction is quite evident. The impact of this destruction is evident on this particular building. And this is the biggest ever attack in last 12 days. And the timing is very important to understand because this was happening when the ceasefire claims were coming in from United States President Donald Trump. Right in the morning from 5 a.m. to 7:45, 8 a.m., the attacks continued. And here you see another building also, which is around at a distance of 100 meters from the other building. This is also inflicted with severe damages.
In retaliation, Israel launched targeted attack on Iran's missile launchers. The launchers were destroyed as part of Israel's ongoing effort to neutralize threats following Iran's latest barrage. Iran also said that it was moving a resolution to suspend Tehran's cooperation with UN nuclear watchdog IAEA.
Iranian nuclear facilities are peaceful, and where all Iranian nuclear activity, nuclear facilities were under subject to the intensive inspection of the IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency. So, but at the same time, they claim they claim that it's not peaceful, and they launch such this. You know, still the Iranian concerning structure are studying the extent of damages to the infrastructures. I am not at the position to say what happened and how is the situation now. I am still, you know, it's something which needs a high-ranking decision. It's strategic. It needs a strategic decision and a strategic position for next step.
UN nuclear watchdog IAEA meanwhile said Iran resuming cooperation with it is key to reaching peace. A meeting of the nuke watchdog with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi is also on the cards. Qatar, which helped Trump broker the truce, summoned the Iranian ambassador to formally condemn Iran's strike on its soil. Hours after Iran fired missiles at Al Udeid military base housing US war assets, which, as per the US, was foiled. Is there an end in sight to the 12-day war, or the open conflict will turn into a prolonged war of attrition? With Shivani Sharma in Tel Aviv, Bureau Report, India Today.
And we cut across to breaking news coming in. The latest post that has come in from Donald Trump that reads, and I quote, Israel is not going to attack Iran. All planes will turn around and head home. While doing a friendly plane wave to Iran, nobody will be hurt. The ceasefire is in effect. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. So Donald Trump primarily has put out the assurance that Israel will not attack Iran anymore. I'd like to go across to my colleague Shivani Sharma, who will join us from Tel Aviv shortly to give us a sense of the extent of damage that has been caused in Israel, because Israel claimed that it was Iran that had violated ceasefire, and that is why from their side it was a counter strike. But Donald Trump now assuring Israel will not attack. Hence, Iran must hold back. Shivani, I can see you. Please do tell us, what are the chances that Israel will hold back? Has there been a conversation between America and Israel? Donald Trump putting out that assurance, but he had also said that a couple of hours ago. And then Israel said that we had to strike Iran because they violated ceasefire. How do you think it's turning out now?
Suyesha, this assurance has come from President Donald Trump. I think this is the fourth statement coming from last night when he had first claimed about the ceasefire. Then again in the morning, he had brought that message that do not violate the ceasefire. Again, he brought out a message that he said that he's just not happy with Israel. This is the fourth message on social where he's saying that Israel will not bomb Iran. All the planes are turning around. So this is the kind of claims that are coming in from President Donald Trump, but we have to wait and watch on ground whether these claims are actually turning into reality, whether Prime Minister Netanyahu is actually considering the request or whatever is being claimed by President Donald Trump of not bombing Iran. But here, what we were learning and getting the statements from the IDF and from Israel that the kind of violation that came in from Iran early morning, from 5 a.m. to 7:45 a.m., there was devastation across the cities in Israel from Iranian side. We have also been showing the pictures of the kind of attacks, the ballistic attacks that have been imposed on multiple cities across Israel, including Beersheba, where people have lost their lives. So it was being considered as a very serious violation, and IDF had announced that it is going to attack Iran as a mark of retribution and as a mark of retaliation to these strikes that have happened, the violation. So now what we are learning is that a claim has come from Donald Trump that Israel is not going to attack, but we have to wait and watch to see whether Israel has actually considered this or it is going to attack Iran and to punish it for what it has done as a ceasefire violation in the morning.
Oh yes, Shivani, and the next couple of hours are going to be very crucial because this is a message to Iran. Do not provoke. Israel is claiming upfront that because they provoked, hence they counter-struck. So Iran should not provoke is the message both America and Israel are putting out. Shivani.
Certainly, Suyesha, yes, this is the message that Israel wants to give to Iran because after the ceasefire violations that came in the morning, there have been very important statements that came in not only from the Prime Minister, from the Defense Minister in Israel, but also from the IDF chief. They said that this was a serious violation and Israel is it will not sit quietly. It will hit back hard to give a lesson to Iran that it cannot just keep on bombing on the civilian society, civilian areas inside Israel. Beersheba, that happens to be a busy residential city, it was bombed by Iran in the morning. We also saw how the structures have turned into debris. So after this, there was a sense of disappointment also in the people. I was talking to a few people in Beersheba, the Israeli people. They were saying that they do not believe Iran. They do not believe in such kind of a ceasefire, where the ceasefire announcements are being made, where the talks are being done. And at the very moment, the Iranians are hitting them. So they did not believe at that moment, and they wanted some kind of action from their forces. And we are seeing that Israel has been preparing for that action. I could hear a number of jets flying in the skies of Israel while I was traveling from Beersheba to other locations. So we have to wait and see whether Israel punishes Iran for the strikes it brought to its civilians in the morning, or it is not going to do anything, as per Donald Trump's claims that it is not going to bomb, because he was very disappointed. He was trying to bring
Right.
peace. He was talking to Iran and Israel both. But now we have to be watchful of the coming hours. If Israel chooses to strike back at Iran can also threat. Can
Oh,
also
yes,
target a
Shivani.
number.
And Donald Trump, not mincing any words there, said that he was unhappy about the fact that Israel unloaded despite the fact that they had struck truce. US President Donald Trump, who asked Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to not carry out a strike in Iran following that ceasefire that they had mediated. A senior Israeli official told the media, in fact, that Netanyahu had told Trump that a response was necessary, but he has now agreed to scale back the operation. The official said that Israel has cancelled plans to hit multiple targets and instead struck only one. Now, remember, we are picking up more details of how minutes after Trump warned of ceasefire, assuring that Israel will not strike, we are getting details of how explosions have been heard in Iran's capital city of Tehran. Reports coming in of how there have been 2 loud explosions that were heard in Tehran, which means that Israel has not held back, or was this really an operation that was in action and there would be no counterstrike from here on? Will Iran retaliate is the big question, but Donald Trump making it very clear that both sides must hold back. He has assured, as far as Israel is concerned, that they will not strike. However, details coming in of explosions that were heard in Iran's capital city, Tehran, where we are now getting reports of 2 loud explosions that were heard in Tehran. Shivani, I want to come back to you. How is one to deduce these details? Because Israel had primarily said that while they've cancelled plans to hit multiple targets and instead struck only one. Is this that particular one, or are the strikes very much on?
Suyesha, you are actually at the right point. I think that when these talks were going on and Prime Minister Netanyahu was being told by Donald Trump to hold back, there was some action already that was taking place on ground, because since morning we've been getting those developments, those strong statements from Israel, where it has been claiming that it will punish Iran for the strikes it has brought to its civilians in the morning. So the explosions that are being heard in Tehran are possibly the explosions which were already into action in the skies. The pilots were already operating. They wanted to give a strong message to Iran that you cannot sit quietly and you cannot just go away by just striking to our civilians, and we have to give some response. So this is the response which probably has been brought now by Israel onto Iran, and there might be a stop in this action after Trump's deliberations. So we have to wait. But yes, certainly what the inputs that are showing are that there can be some action that has already taken place from Israel's side on Iran after it chose to strike on these different cities across Israel. Because I was telling you that I was hearing a lot of fighter jets in the skies of Israel. That means the action was already in place. The pilots were already on into the operations. The instructions were already passed. And since these developments are changing each minute, they are developing, the situation is developing very quickly, Suyesha. So we can see some change in the attitude and the operations of Israel from now on, because there is a message that has once again come from Donald Trump that who claims that Israel is not going to bomb any more targets inside Iran. But what has happened can be an action that was already in place when the talks were already on.
All right, Shivani, many thanks for getting us those details. So priority, of course, at this time is the fact that both sides must hold back. Meanwhile, we also shift our focus to the other big angle that requires everyone's attention, because Iran is hinting at snapping ties with the IAEA. Let's tell you the key statements that have come in, where Iran has said that they will suspend cooperation with the IAEA. Installing surveillance cameras will now be suspended by the IAEA at their key nuclear sites, and allowing inspections will now be suspended by Iran. Also, they've gone on to say that submitting reports to IAEA will be suspended. This primarily means that Iran is stating that they will not be answerable to the nuke watchdog anymore. But what can be the consequences? 5 big fallouts that we take you through. If that happens, there will be no one to watch Iran's secret nuclear program, and that can once again lead to aggression. Iran may secretly carry out enrichment. While there have been claims that they have been doing that, they have denied it. IAEA, of course, has put out its version. But the fact that there is no nuclear watchdog, this could be another scenario. Third scenario, possibility of Iran developing a tactical nuclear weapon. And this, of course, would be dangerous territory. Also, proliferation threat if Iran pulls out of the NPT is something they have been stating again and again. In fact, Iran may give dirty nuclear bomb to the Houthis and Hezbollahs because we've understood how they have been supporting these proxies and fighting this war through proxies. If that happens, this could be dangerous territory. Let me cut across to Geeta Mohan, joining us live with further details of what may happen as far as the IAEA situation with Iran is concerned. Can they pull out? Will the other nations agree? How do you see it?
Well, I was speaking to the Iranian ambassador, and I asked the same question to him whether if Iran is going to engage the IAEA on the facilities that were attacked, and whether if there has been any radioactive leak in any of the facilities. So far, what Iran has said is that they have been adhering to every norm and rule of the International Atomic Energy Agency, and that Iran is a signatory of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, that's NPT. And despite that, the IAEA put out statements which were unbecoming, and the reason why there has been the escalation that we've seen between Iran, Israel, and now America in the fray as well. And he solely blamed the IAEA chief, Rafael Grossi, for the statements, falsified statements made by him according to Iran. And it doesn't seem like right now they're very keen on engaging the IAEA. In fact, what they've said is that they're going to assess, their Atomic Energy Agency is going to assess the situation on the ground, look at details, and also then assess whether if IAEA has a role to play or not. Iran, in fact, has been one of the most rigorously inspected country when it comes to uranium enrichment, and has allowed entry and access to various nuclear facilities. So at this point in time, it doesn't seem like Iran is very keen on engaging IAEA.
All right, we wait and watch what happens on that front. Geeta, thank you for joining us.
There is a ceasefire now that has been announced between Iran and Israel. But how viable is the ceasefire going to be in a situation that's ongoing and you have Netanyahu at the helm of affairs in Israel?
Regarding to your question, Netanyahu is not reliable. Netanyahu is not reliable. He launched a military aggression against Iranian peaceful nuclear installation facilities, and he also during his military operation, this attack, they targeted residential area, healthcare centers, ambulances, hospitals, residential areas, different, did not pay the least bit attention to the international law, humanitarian law. So he is not reliable. He is not reliable regarding the ceasefire. But anyway, we are ready to respond to any action by Israel. If it continue striking or start its aggression, we will respond.
Ambassador, did America entering the fray really surprise Tehran? Because there was a 2 weeks notice that that Donald Trump had given, and yet it entered the war. Was it something that was on expected lines, intelligence reports or assessment that Tehran had that America will be entering the war?
American played at two parallel lines. From one side, in one line, They try to convince Iran that we want negotiation, we want to reach to a conclusion, to a rapprochement with Iran. And at the same time, they were working on a military operation, and they were supporting financially, militarily, intelligently, and they have gave Israel whatever it needs for such this aggression. But I use this opportunity to mention that, first of all, Trump himself is not reliable, is not predictable person, and United States also is not reliable. You know, we were preparing ourselves for the sixth indirect talk round with the mediation of Oman, and we were guessing, we were expecting such this aggression, and we were preparing ourselves for such to defend and respond. But at the same time, we try to convince ourselves that United States will not allow Israel. You know, Israel by itself cannot do anything. Israel is little built, is smaller than to do anything. Not only against Iran, but most of the regional country, in regional states in our region. Israel cannot do and still cannot do anything, and would not do anything without permission and without support of United States and some Western countries. And you know, during the response of Iran, we fully witnessed the support of United States and other, European, other allies of Israel for intercepting our missiles and to not allow our missiles to reach to Israel. Of course, despite of this, our missile targeted different facilities and different infrastructure of Israel. Anyway, we were expecting such this, and we were ready. But
you were expecting America to enter the war?
You know, we were expecting.
Very interesting. President Trump has said that America managed to decimate the 3 nuclear facilities, and that Iran has only done a symbolic gesture with the attack on the US bases. Your comments, sir?
You know, first of all, Iranian nuclear facilities are peaceful. And where all Iranian nuclear activity, nuclear facilities were under subject to the intensive inspection of the IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency. So, but at the same time, they claim they claim that it's not peaceful, and they launched such this. You know, still the Iranian concerning structure are studying the extent of damages to the infrastructures. I am not at the position to say what happened and how is the situation now. I am still, you know, it's something which needs a high-ranking decision. It's strategic. It needs a strategic decision and a strategic position for next step.
Indian interests and investments in Iran. The Chabahar port is very important. We were speaking to the Israeli envoy to India as well, and he was saying that they're warning against investing in Iran, not just to India, but also the messaging to China that stop investing because it's a waste of our money. How are the investments looking of Indian investments in Iran as opposed to Indian investments in Israel, because Haifa was also attacked?
Israel is smaller than anything to treat any investment in Iran. You know, Israel itself and alone is not any threat to Iran. Let me say to you and your viewers. Israel without US, Israel without the support of the EU, Israel with support of different Western countries is nothing, you know. But it poses problem for the region, We fully defend any foreign investment in Iran, not Indian, Chinese. You know, despite of the sanction, let me say you, and change this perception that Iran is under heavy sanction. Annually, we are receiving foreign investment in Iran. India is just one. Even Chabahar is an investment by the government of India. There are also private sector of India that are keen, and they have entered Iranian economy. They have invested in Iran from China. You know, some countries at the level governmental institution have invested in Iran, and even private sector. You know, Iran is a good market for a good place for investment. Rich, it is rich. It is their energy price is low, labor force is low. There are good facility, good infrastructure. So it's feasibility.
Are the investments safe?
All investments are safe. All investment. You know, it depends to you how to interpret the safety. You know, Iran's government is fully support foreign investment. This is one side. Legally and constitutionally, Iran's government is fully support any foreign investment. And, you know, there are too many investments. From the security, also, it is the responsibility of Iranian government. You know, if there is a factory or a project inside Iran, it's the responsibility of Iran to defend its sovereignty, its security, and these investments are among other projects, other installations, other facilities inside Iran. So we will defend them all. We will defend them.
Ambassador Azhar was the former Deputy National Security Advisor to the Foreign Ministry in Israel. He's been the Deputy Ambassador to the United States of America. He's worked as a Special Advisor to Israel's Prime Minister. He's worked on that special team on the Abraham Accord. He's been a part of the Sanctions Committee on Iran. He's a paratrooper. Have I missed out on anything? I'm sure I've missed out a lot, but welcome on this podcast.
Thank you. Thank you, Carl.
So, was Israel able to achieve its aim when Israel bombed Iran? And why did the United States have to come in?
We are certainly nearing the end of our mission when it comes to the military targets that we had. We removed two main threats on our existence. The first is the nuclear military threat. We identified in the last few months that there was a clandestine criminal group of scientists that were actually assembling a nuclear weapon, but actually taking fissile material and trying to put it on a ballistic missile, okay? And the second thing is we neutralized is the ballistic missile program of Iran that we degraded, but the job is not yet done. There are still many launchers around there. We've been able to take out more than half of them. But still we're seeing barrages of missiles being fired at Israel that are causing huge devastation. So these two aims are the military aims, and we hope that after those are achieved, we'll be able to renew diplomatic efforts to create, to renew stability in our region.
So when we look at the situation right now, the Trinity that was targeted by the United States of America as part of Operation Midnight Hammer, along with your Rising Lion, why was Fordo the most difficult in your appreciation? Isfahan, Natanz, and Fordo. For the benefit of our viewers, explain why they had to be targeted and targeted together.
Natanz was the main facility in which Iran was enriching uranium. It had a surface facility and an underground facility that we targeted. Isfahan was the main conversion site in which you convert the fissile material into a metal that is being used on a nuclear device. And Fordow was less significant in terms of uranium enrichment capacity, but what it had is the immunity, so-called immunity of the presence in the underground. So for us, it would have been more difficult to tackle that because the ammunition we have is limited in power. And the fact that the United States decided to complement our effort with their own effort is very important because they had the right weapons needed in order to penetrate more than 60 meters with their Moab load, that facility, and to completely, if not destroy it, at least to take it into an unfunctional situation. So these are three of the main elements of the nuclear military program, but not the only ones. Mm-hmm. Israel has been targeting actually dozens of sites in which Iran has been conducting this illicit activity.
Is this operation, which is apart from destroying their nuclear capabilities and their missile force and their launchers, also to enforce a regime change? Because not only is Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu indicating that, your Defense Minister Israel Katz has indicated that, and American President Donald Trump seems to have indicated that a regime change operation.
I want to make it very
Iran.
clear because there is confusion regarding that. As much as we would like to see a regime change in Iran, we don't have an operational plan to change the regime in Iran. We don't see this as our role. We see it as a role of the Iranian people.
And that's why the bombing of the gates of the prison where you have political prisoners in Iran.
Yes, because we identify with the Iranian people. This is a symbolic action. We are not flying to Iran to liberate it with our ground forces, but we are signaling to the Iranian people that we are with them. This is a symbolism, a symbolic gesture that we've done.
But this is there an apprehension, is there fear this could be a forever war? The war that started with that October 7 attack is still on and could expand.
This has been a forever war, a forever attack of Iran coming from Iran. This started in the 90s when we were trying to promote peace and make peace with the Palestinians. And the Iranians started to support Hamas and the suicide bombings, and they derailed the peace process time and again. The Iranians have been doing damage to our region and to us for many, many years. We want to end this war. And we hope that finally, when the Iranians see that they are not immune anymore, that they will suffer the consequences to the extent that their regime will be put in danger, then maybe there is a chance that things will change. And we hope things will change.
How do you see Pakistan in all of this? Pakistan in a different context wants to recommend Donald Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize and then goes and stands with Iran that's sworn to Israel's destruction.
Well, we are not part of the Pakistani-Indian conflict. We are, of course, following with concern the fact that Pakistan is harboring terrorist organizations. Something that I think the entire world should cooperate in order to deal with. But we haven't seen the Pakistanis doing what the Iranians have been doing. Sending assistance to terrorist organizations in our region, trying to build a ring of fire around us. We haven't seen that. So, as I said, we're not looking for enemies.
Okay. But, since you talk about what's happening in your region, is Israel still standing by the two-nation theory, concept or a solution, an independent Palestine living in harmony next to Israel and not targeting your people like the way Hamas did?
We don't have an interest to control the daily lives of Palestinians outside Israel. What we like to do is to promote a self-Palestinian rule that will not threaten Israel. So we are ready to give the Palestinians the maximum authority to control themselves without threatening us.
But no Hamas in the Gaza Strip, for example.
Because Hamas is completely committed to destroy the state of Israel. So of course that we wouldn't agree. Look, we have been in a situation in which after we withdrew completely from the Gaza Strip with the hope that something positive will emerge there, okay? We've taken out all the settlements from there, even the graveyards we took out. Yeah. We left their nurseries, means to make a living. What Hamas did, a few months after we left, they completely destroyed the nurseries. They engaged in creating a war machine against us. And for years, we tried to avoid from going back to the Gaza Strip. We had zero interest of controlling the Gaza Strip. But we were left with no choice when they committed these terrible atrocities against us. And
what happens now? Because
now
President Donald Trump says he wants to build a Riviera there. And
so now Israel will have to stay there until Hamas is removed. We will have to contemplate new forces coming up, more moderate forces that will engage in de-radicalization of the population in Gaza, that will engage in construction, that will distance itself from terrorism, will distance itself from attacking the state of Israel. In that context, we can create a much better future for us and for our Palestinian neighbors.
You don't think Iran is going to get more aggressive in the times to come when it says suspend their parliament? Their Majlis has talked about suspending the IAEA. They're very unhappy with the United Nations, though they're seeking some kind of intervention.
Gaurav, that they're very unhappy because they didn't expect what we did to them. The question is, what is the capability to go through with your intentions? So I think at the end of the day, people have to match their actions and their intentions with the capabilities they have. And therefore, I'm optimistic that we can de-escalate the situation and we can get a diplomatic solution.
Where do you see India and Israel's friendship with India in all of this?
Well, India is a great partner of Israel. We have a lot of trust between us. We've built this trust in decades of defense cooperation. We've built this trust in decades of agricultural cooperation. We have a lot in common. I think both nations are very old peoples that have very young countries with a lot of challenges of development that we can actually engage in sorting out together. And we also have a history of oppression and devastation that came from foreign forces that came and actually took our freedom from us. And the fact that now we are assuming our role, we are taking back our freedom, we are building our country, this is a very important ethos that we have in common, Gaurav. So I see, despite the differences in size, naturally, we are only a nation of 10 million people. And we are 150 times smaller than India. But when it comes to the ethos of building our nation, when it comes to the challenges of fighting radicalism, we stand together. And I know that India will have a huge role in promoting stability in our region, because as much as you grow, and your economy is growing very fast, and as much as you sign trade deals with other major countries, major economies in the world, you will need more this connectivity, the countries in our region can provide, that connect India with Europe, with the West. We can engage in projects of energy, of communications, of technology, of transportation. And this is just the beginning. I'm really not only hopeful, but optimistic, because we know what we can do. Because our countries are countries that are convinced now in the capability that we have in order to improve our lives. We have proved it, you have proved it, we have proved it, and we can do it together in a much better way.
And your reading of India's actions during Operation Sindoor, because that's also debated very extensively, but as somebody who's observed it and as a soldier, as a diplomat, how do you view that?
I saw a nation rising up to try to change the equation. We don't surrender to terrorism, and you don't surrender to terrorism.
And the policy of mowing the lawn, that I heard of in Israel, is that's constantly required? You need to constantly fight terror. We need to constantly fight terror. Is that the only way to move forward?
Look, there are many ways, and the situations are not necessarily similar. I don't want to get into the details because I'm not an expert when it comes to your security situation, your set of considerations. I trust the government of India to make the right moves for the interests of the Indian people.